What's going on, guys? Here's a question for you. Got any plans Sunday night? I know what I'm doing. I'm going to be watching a little Game of Thrones, and I know the three people sitting around this table are going to be watching it as well. You got a Hodor, you got a Cersei, and you have a Michelle Boyd, a Roth Cornet, and a Spencer Gilbert. What's going on, you guys? These are our hosts of Watching Thrones, our weekly Game of Thrones recap and just theory, just boiler room. You guys are just going to be like hunkering down and figuring it out.
There's a lot of Game of Thrones recap shows on the internet, but ours is also one of them.
Yeah, it exists too.
We're the ultimate small council.
You know what? I think this Game of Thrones recap show sits on the Iron Throne of Game of Thrones recap shows.
I understood that reference.
Yes, good job.
We are the Brotherhood with all the banners.
Oh yeah. By the way, this is not the Brotherhood without banners.
All
We got
of them.
all the banners right here. So, fandom put up a poll asking everybody who's going to be sitting on the Iron Throne at the end. And I'm sure you guys all got to see the results, got to see the tabulations. Thoughts, are they way off? Michelle, let's start with you and just go around the horn and hear some thoughts.
I mean, are we talking about the actual results now? We can say like who won the poll and who was like kind of second and third.
I think it's out there.
Going there.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's go there.
I would say they were pretty obvious results, I would say. The winner right at the top, Jon Snow. It's the obvious choice, which is exactly why I don't think it's going to be the real one. Mm-hmm. It's a little too Lord of the Rings. It's a little too out there. It's a little too like ultimate last hero. And George has done nothing but promise us heartache and bittersweet endings. So I don't think it's going to be that easy at all.
Yeah, he's definitely a fan favorite, and second on the list here is Daenerys Targaryen. So do we think there's any way they do that kind of fan service?
No, not even remotely. It's not going to be either. I think that the one that stands the best chance, and I still agree, it's not going to be Jon Snow, is Jon Snow, because if you look at the books in their origin, the idea of a Song of Fire and Ice, he's fire and ice in every conceivable way in terms of his parentage. As we now know, he is both living and dead. He is the combination, the kind of paradoxical culmination of everything that this world is about, but it's still not going to be him. And to your point, Michelle, what George R. R. Martin has promised us ultimately is to be left wanting more and unsatisfied because he's never going to finish his books. But with that said,
never going to happen.
Even if the original intent with the first three books was to break the tropes by having it be a bastard son, having it be a girl who had been once sold into marriage, having it be a dwarf that are the heroes of the tale, now Benioff and Weiss are way too hip to the skip that now we are anticipating that. There's just no way it's going to be that. No one sits on that throne in the end.
I hate to quibble with you guys, but I think that we are going to, while we all expect the twist is that there will be no twist, or rather a double twist. I do think that this show, when I fell in love with it, was what you're saying.
You're thinking John and Danny both, baby, like they're going to get married.
Super traditional.
Disney theme.
They share the throne.
Over the credits.
Because you guys don't expect it. That's exactly what's going to happen. I'm sorry, but this show started out with the subversion of these things. Like you said, the bastards, the dwarves, it was following their story. But we're learning that they're not who we thought they were. They're actually the highborn royalty, and they're going to fulfill the prophecy and save the land. That is my biggest bone to pick in the latest season of the show, and I'm sorry, but it seems like it's heading there. This used to be a gritty, grounded show, and now it's Dungeons and Dragons.
Azor, you're high, sir. First of all, Dungeons and Dragons is fantastic, but second of all,
it's not Game of Thrones.
I don't believe that. I mean, Michelle, weigh in, because I have a theory about where it is going, but I certainly think, and we've heard hints, that Daenerys will either betray Jon. First of all, there's a betrayal promised to her. Mm-hmm. We don't know where that's coming from or if it will be fulfilled. But I think that we are going to see either a massive heel turn, or we're going to see her extremely humbled, because she's going to make a mistake. Because if anything that the show is about the frailty of human nature. And she is set up so well at this point, she's going to make a mistake, and it is going to cost her everything, for sure.
You mean besides boning her nephew?
Mistake?
I mean, that's up to the internet.
That's kind of just par for the course.
In this era, that's fine. Like anything short of first sibling.
That's Targaryen.
The entire
you know.
When in
This show,
Westeros.
you guys have missed the entire point of Game
I'm
of
not
Thrones. It's to
dragon
make all of
shaming.
us okay with incest.
Yeah,
Baby steps. Yeah,
Whoa.
Eight seasons.
The views of Michelle Boyd are not the views of fandom, Screen Junkies, or myself.
it's been pretty successful. It's been
Everyone's
pretty
like,
successful.
incest baby.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for John and Danny's baby now. And it's like, guys.
Well, Cersei's pregnant. That thing's going to come out with
All right,
flippers.
so here's the thing. Okay. So, I mean, okay. Well, we can dive into that, or I honestly do want to hear what Roth's theory is about where it is going. Because I think we talked a little bit about like where we think it's not going.
Yeah, Roth.
Which with the happy ending. So what's your theory?
You said something earlier. You see no one on the Iron Throne?
No, if you look at the vision, you look at the throne room, there's snow coming down, everything is decimated. If you look at what Daenerys has even said that she wants to do.
She wants to break the wheel.
Break the wheel. You don't break the wheel by reinstating a new monarchy at all. And if you look at who's coming from the north, yes, it's the White Walkers. Yes, it's the Night King, but it's who is defending, who's coming further south than they've ever been as well. If the living make it at all, if this isn't just kind of like a time is a flat circle and it's the reset of the wheel, whatever, and McConaughey somehow comes in and it's a thing. And there's like a Lincoln commercial.
They're all living in like a blue eye and a giant
all
cucumber.
HBO shows are in the same universe?
Exactly.
Oh my
They're
God,
all
the
just
Yellow
in the
King's
same-
gonna be on the Iron
Exactly. Exactly, and then this is just a long prequel to the next True Detective.
Oh, yeah. Danny and John.
Yeah.
Season 4.
I think I should be clear that that's not what I'm proposing at all. I'm not saying that. So if it's not that, and there are survivors, if you think about who's coming south with them, it's the free folk. And the free folk have an entirely different system of government, right? They do not operate the way that the Westerosis do.
It's kind of echoing
Viva la Republic!
her lost seasons in Marine when they're like, kill the masters, you're free, and then they're like, what do we do, sir? You know, it's gonna be like teaching direct democracy to feudal peasants.
That's the thing. Do you think she's going to rule with like a republic or a full-on democracy?
I don't think Danny's going to rule at all. I don't think she survives.
Okay.
I don't think it's that clean because I don't think anything about this show is that clean.
You just think the whole world's going to burn and everyone's going to be dead.
I don't think that necessarily either. That's one theory, that everything just ends and we've been ignoring the real problem, and then it's just this big metaphor for ignoring the real problem in the world and getting too caught up in your petty concerns, and then you all burn for it. But I don't know that it'll be that. I'm saying that we're talking about actual breaking the wheel. One of the things that I think the show does so well is fulfill exactly what the characters want, but poetically, in a way that they wouldn't think they wanted. Sansa wanted to get married. Well, she's been married twice. How did that work out? Arya wanted to be a boy, and she wanted to live in freedom. Now she did. Jon wanted to be legitimate. You are, and it's not going to be easy. You know,
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, careful what you wish for. Rob wanted to be like his dad. So Daenerys might get what she wants, but it's not going to be in the way that she wants.
Please.
Well, no, that's actually feeds into how I've been thinking about the end of it all, because there's this really big prophecy that this whole show has kind of revolved around with this prince that was promised. And there's a lot of speculation and there's a lot of theory about what that exactly means. Like, is that Jon? Is it the princess who was promised? They made a point of that last season with the gender noun with High Valyrian. Like, is it actually Danny? And
but it's Davos, right?
Sorry,
we all agree it's Davos.
Oh yeah,
is Azor
completely.
Ahai?
Yeah, he's
Okay,
absolutely Azor Ahai. Totally. I mean, I'm going with Jamie, but we can stick with
Or
that.
the Hound.
Or the Hound. Or Arya. Where are we going?
Yeah.
Or Gendry. Or Pod. It's Pod, you guys. Pod is the prince that was promised. But there's a whole. We're really not talking about actually the big threat of this season, which is the White Walkers and what's actually going to happen in that battle. And there's a really big theory going around about this prince that was promised, and one of the reasons the White Walkers is actually even coming down and scaled the wall is because they want this prince that was promised. That there's actually a possibility that the whole reason that they haven't come down in the first place was the truce during the last long night, where possibly it became all about those babies that they turned into the White Walkers. I saw a really cool theory that basically says Jon is going to be the prince that was promised that might actually become the next Night King.
Okay.
So he's looking for a replacement. I think that would be really cool, because then you've got the sacrifice that Danny has to make. There might be a whole way where like he saves. All it says really for the prophecy is that like he's going to save the world from darkness. What if he does that by becoming the next Night King and heading back up to the wall and leaving the world alone?
It's sort of that's leaning more heavily on like book stuff and real deep knowledge. I think if they break out too much Prince Who Was Promised on the show, that people are gonna be like,
They've talked about that a lot on the show the whole time. I mean, they even redid it. Melisandre did it. Kinvara did it back in Essos. Aemon Targaryen talked about it. As far like he was saying, it was going to be Dany, everything, waking the stone dragon. But like the prince that was promised in Azor Ahai, it's been going on since I believe season 2 when Melisandre first started talking about it. It's just been this recurring thread, and it's huge in the books, obviously, but they haven't ignored it in the show at all.
It seems like Roth and Michelle are both leaning towards, they are not going to give you the happy ending because that's not what they do. It's messy and it doesn't come to fruition. But Spencer, last season, it there was a little more fan service and it was a little more streamlined, the journey, and you think it's going to continue on that path?
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't tell if it's because of like this has been so overanalyzed and there's such a rabid fanhood about this that we've like dug into all the signs and all the clues in a way that maybe George R. R. Martin didn't think we would, or Benioff and Weiss didn't think we would bother to, so we predicted everything.
And they haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. But this was written long ago, and that does, I do think there's one arrow left in his quiver, because I just remember some interview with Benioff and Weiss talking about the 3, I'm going to swear, holy shit moments when they read his outline. One of them was Stannis burning Shireen. One of them was the reveal of Hodor and why he can say that. And then they said that there's one more moment that is at the very end of the series that gave them that holy shit feeling. So we have yet to see that, and so they clearly have one more big twist left in them.
So you don't think it was the reveal of Jon being R + L = J as the big reveal?
No.
I don't think so either, but I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay, because that was in theory a pretty big moment for people who weren't spoiled and didn't know anything about it. The fact he's actually a legitimate heir to the throne.
Yeah, and what that's going to mean for his relationship for his aunt lover is going to be very complicated moving forward. But there is one person that a lot of people think is going to sit on the throne, and it's Sansa. That would go along with what I was saying, that Sansa wanted to be queen, right? And the path there was much harder and much darker than she thought it would have been. She's talked about learning a lot from Cersei. She certainly has political acumen. She likes leading at Winterfell. Arya's got her back, it seems, at this point. What do you think of that?
I think we can see a villain turn from Sansa and perhaps Arya. They've had the requisite amount of trauma to turn into some true sociopaths, which is what it takes to, when you have mentors like Littlefinger and Ramsay Bolton, you kind of end up gaining power in some pretty effed up ways. So I can see us, some of the Starks kind of splitting off from the rest of the crew.
Here's a question. Just as a fan, I'm wondering, maybe you can enlighten me a little bit. How much collaboration is there between George R. R. Martin and Weiss and Benioff in...
From what I understand, it's that they were kind of given bullet points to hit.
Right.
And that it's kind of been left up to them how they interpret those bullet points and how they get there. And actually, I would love to talk to you guys about, because I don't know how much of a rewatch you've been doing, but about things, all the rewatch. But like what things in past episodes that you might have missed when you were watching it the first time, or like things that you kind of see differently. Because I think that, like, as far as how the Benioff and Weiss have interpreted it, there's definitely been some differences between those in the books, and like how much more are they going to spin off the reservation.
Well, also to go back on that point just even earlier, as far as outlines from George R. R. Martin goes, they published his original outline pitch for the whole series to his publisher. Sansa, villain.
Yeah.
She breaks bad. Granted, plenty of things have changed. Jon has a love triangle with Arya and Tyrion.
That's right.
He's made some changes.
A
He's
lot
made
of
some
people
changes.
think that change is that the love triangle now went to Daenerys, and Tyrion. The love triangle is about Tyrion,
but
Daenerys,
enough
and
all
Jon.
other things he deviated from in that original outline. But Sansa, I mean, that's a meta point, but she could be... That's another
heel turn.
Yeah.
I mean, but is it a heel turn, or is it a justified reaction to what she's been through?
She's been through a lot of stuff.
She really has.
And like she always lands on her feet. She's proved herself a survivor, but maybe
I feel
it's
like
messed
they
with the
spent
wiring.
a good portion of last season earning the trust back between her and Arya, though.
Yeah.
Like, to just go ahead and break that again would be really unsatisfying.
Yeah, the
for me.
Littlefinger moment last year was like, oh, okay.
Thank God you're not being total morons anymore.
I don't want to do like from a certain point of view. However, from a certain point of view, she says two things that I think are supporting your theory, which is she says, I learned quite a lot from Cersei, and then she said, thank you. Littlefinger for teaching me these lessons. I'll never forget them. And I feel like that backs up the theory that she's going to take what she learned from these two and say, essentially, like, you're never going to F with my family again. I don't think she'll heel turn against her sister, as long as her sister has her back, but she might become quite ruthless, and necessarily so.
The pack survives.
Yeah.
She's found her pack again.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of took that whole thing.
I haven't heard a lot of Cersei talk from you guys.
Yeah.
So what are the chances? Because she is conniving. She is a survivor, and she had huge machinations last year and ended up wiping out all of her foes in King's Landing. So what are her chances of ending up on the throne?
She's wiped out all of her foes, but she's also wiped out all of her friends. You know, she's like, she's left the hood. Everyone around her is like a hanger-on that's like just trying to get her money. Like, I don't trust.
Or like undead.
Or not really alive.
Or really in love with the undead.
Yeah, she's relying too much on hired help and like this weird Euron guy, the sexy pirate. Don't get involved with the sexy pirate. It's not going to end well.
Sexy pirates are nothing but trouble.
Nothing
My
but
mama
trouble.
told me that.
She doesn't
My new
have.
motto: always get involved with a sexy pirate.
I mean, she doesn't. She has gold, but it's on credit. She's got credit that she's used to hire an army, but that can disappear pretty quick. Yeah. So.
It's hard to say because part of her prophecy, right, is that a younger, more beautiful queen is going to take her place. And everybody was like, well, that was Marjorie. But was it? Or is it one of these other two contenders that could come in and take her place?
Yeah,
Daenerys,
I think
Sansa.
Daenerys or Sansa. I think the better contender and the obvious one is Daenerys. But we don't know that for sure. And then we also have the Valonqar prophecy of how she's going to bite it.
Yeah.
Of the little brother.
Bro.
Yeah, the little brother wrapping his hands around her throat and choking the life from her.
Yeah, so what about...
Which could be Jamie.
I'm hoping
yeah.
for Jamie. I hope
So,
that's not too obvious.
Could
but I
be
want it.
Jamie, or could be the guy who
Tyrion.
drinks and knows
Could
things.
be Tyrion.
So,
People have said it could be Arya.
What's
because maybe
Tyrion's
that's-
path? What's Tyrion's path to
man.
the throne?
The throne. I don't know about that.
I don't think he wants it. Yeah.
Okay.
He wants to be the hand. I think he wants to be the guy behind the girl or the guy.
Yeah.
Although if
He's
Cersei and
sworn to
Jamie,
Dany.
if Cersei and Jamie die, isn't it his by right?
No, it's
No?
kind of a whole strongest wins the day sort of thing.
But
That's why Robert won it in the first place.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, you're saying because he's in Lannister and now
Yeah.
a Lannister sits on the throne.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's just kind of been like, screw, like I'm taking the
have you
throne.
seen my
She had
dragons?
no right to it. And so the only one that actually technically has a claim, two people that have a claim are Gendry and Jon, depending on who you would more than anyone else. They have an actual, according to the rules. I'm not saying like they should
Well, and
have
technically
it.
Gendry doesn't unless he's
Unless he's
legitimized
legit, so it's-
by a king or
Yeah.
queen. And why would you do that? Because then it's the Blackfire rebellions all over again. And you
Yeah.
know what? We only have 6 more freaking episodes.
Well, the only, yeah, exactly. The only reason to legitimize him would be to make as a political move because you wanted Gendry there for some reason.
I mean, I know why I want Gendry there, but that's just me.
Yeah,
That
and it's
hammer.
Back in King's
it's
Landing,
a fair
hot
point.
weather again. Let's go.
But think about poor Jon, where there's this moment I remember with thinking about things we remember, where Daenerys, they're just sort of looking over the ocean together and slowly falling in love with a relative, and she says about Tyrion, you know, he says he's a good talker, and she says, well, people are usually like what they're good at, you know, and Jon, just morose boy that he is, says not me. And so what are the things that he's good at? He's good at fighting, he's good at leading, he doesn't
Brooding.
want brooding,
Caves.
caving,
Spelunking.
you know, like dying and come back. He didn't want any of this.
Yeah.
He does not want, he'll do it, but he doesn't want it.
So you're saying that's Tyrion as well? Wouldn't want the throne
I
even
don't
if it
think
was
he
offered.
would. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're speaking to like the kind of poetry of people's character arcs of getting what they either don't want or what they didn't realize they want. I think that Tyrion's future is in the north, particularly with the Night's Watch, maybe, because if he starts as like the whoring, you know, throwing his money around, doesn't care, no sense of duty, to somebody who's maybe the 1000th commander of the Night's Watch, who would be the next one after Dolorous Ed, who's
Yeah.
at the top of my death pool.
Yes.
You
Yep.
don't live with a name like that.
Here's the thing: we've been doing like big predictions. This is a good segue because I want smaller predictions. I want okay, who do you think is gonna die first?
Ooh.
That's a good.
I
one.
think it's going to be big.
You think it's gonna? See, I'm thinking like B character, but so you think it's gonna be a big one?
I think out of the gate, they are going to sucker punch all of us with a notable death. I would hate to wager incorrectly on this and say it's Dany right away. I definitely think she's but I think it's going to be. I don't necessarily think it's that, but I think it'll be.
You heard it here first.
A notable. I think it'll be
Can
like.
you imagine
I think
if
it'll
they
be
did
like
that?
Jamie or someone big is going to die immediately.
I think they're just going to not cover Theon's story anymore and just see if anyone notices.
Where is
I wonder
Yara?
what happened to
Do we
him and
care?
Yara. Oh, bye-bye.
Oh, okay.
He went back to his
Oh,
home.
poor Reek.
No. I don't know. Wait, Spencer, what do you think for the first person to die?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Theon. Like genuinely,
just-
I think that he's suffered enough. If they are listening to fans, it's not the most popular storylines. The Iron Islands, I think, are so miserable, even by Game of Thrones standards, to just like pan out of his dead body on like a salty rock and then never speak of it again was a good first step.
And we haven't talked a ton about the Night King. What are the chances that he sits on that big old chair?
Would he keep the chair?
Yeah. Does he like to sit in
Yeah,
chairs?
it's
Like,
unclear. How do they sleep? There's so much we don't know.
Just
Yeah.
kind of throws a dance party and invites everyone. Raises everyone from the dead.
Yeah,
That's it.
do you feel like this is a potential end, that it's just they win, everyone's
winter,
undead,
yeah.
nuclear
Yeah.
winter, and he's just on the throne,
Just
like,
kinda
doing the
doing the thing, doing the gif. That's a
that's
possibility.
an amazing image.
full-on fan service.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be interesting if he wins. I think that the dark ending that's more conceivable to me is that Cersei holds on to the throne, holds on to the power, stabs everyone in the back after they deal with the existential threat, and then gets to kind of write her own history of how things went down. Because I think that's a big theme of the show also, is like the legends are written by the victors and they don't cover all the crappiness that actually happened. So the bad guys win, but then maybe we flash forward into one of the many spin-offs that are coming out, and it's like the tale of Cersei the Wise.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so dark. I
we know.
love
She puts
that.
on Melisandre's necklace and lives for 400
There you
years.
go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then takes it off and is 400 years old immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so dark. That's the darkest timeline.
I mean, yeah.
And it's probably
speaking
accurate.
of rewatch, in the first episode, Robert Baratheon's like reading some tale, and he's like, or he's talking about how the legends don't talk about how everyone shits themselves when they die.
Or there was the whole Arya watching the plays sequence about the Lannisters, and it was completely from their perspective and not. Yeah, that's
I love
Totally
that play.
That would
Possible.
require a really annoying like flash forward like
well, we don't
snow
want
globe
that.
moment.
Yeah, we don't want the flash forward, but
Like the
even,
Harry Potter thing where they're all in bad old makeup.
Oh God, I
Yeah,
hope they
no,
don't do
let's
that.
not do
They're
that.
not going to. There's no way, but that would be the worst thing.
Is there anyone else that we haven't mentioned that you just, you hope they get like just a nice like bow tied around like their story?
Tormund and
I don't know
Brienne
about
should
nice-
go off and live and make babies, big
Yeah.
babies.
So, yeah, but what about
Oh, yeah,
Brienne and
Brienne of Tarth.
Jamie? No, I ship Brienne and Jamie.
That's a
One
triangle.
true love.
Who should Brienne end
Yeah.
up with? Let us know in the comments.
Podrick.
We'll put a poll up.
Yeah.
Yes, please
And
do.
I hope Bronn gets a nice big castle.
yeah.
I'm waiting for the Hound to go after his brother.
Yes.
Give me Clegane
can it
Bowl
live
or
up
Talk
to
give
the
me
hype
fan
at this
death.
service.
point?
That needs to
It
happen.
needs to happen.
I'm lowering my expectations just because we've thought about this for so long. What scene of two human beings fighting each other could live up to our to what we've put in our minds?
I have faith.
The Hound and Brienne of Tarth.
Oh, they
Okay.
had that.
That was
pretty
pretty
good.
awesome. That was pretty
But I hadn't
awesome.
been thinking about that for like 8 seasons.
Right.
I mean, they have to pull it off. They'd have to have a pretty extraordinary death scene, and they're not bad at that, by
Yeah.
the way. I mean, this happens to be a strength
Yeah.
of the series.
Here's a totally random question. We're getting close to the end here, but what was the biggest like punch in the gut, oh holy shit moment you've had over the course of watching the entire series? I'd love to hear from each of you.
Oh, and the problem is because I read the book, so of course I was spoiled for
Right.
half of it and such. But I will still say the Red Wedding because when I read it, I threw my book across the room. It was definitely the moment for me where I was like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
There's just so I have to go with that.
For sure. Roth?
The Red Wedding is, first of all, it was extraordinarily executed, but for me, one of the pinnacle sequences in the show was it blowing up the Sept. I thought the entire sequence was so beautifully and elegantly done, and just the look on her face and the menace, but also you could understand why she was pissed. She didn't do the right thing, but the sequence was so good. The 3 heartbreaking moments, though, for me, was Lady. I know this says so many things about me. Lady, the baby, when they were going after the Baratheon bastards. And,
yes.
and
Where they killed all
Daenerys
the
having
bastards.
to chain her dragons.
Yes.
Make me cry every time, which is crazy in the middle of all of this.
Mass murder. Understandable.
I have to say, the Sept of Baelor moment when that scene was kind of over and Tommen had, taken the wild plunge into the deep blue yonder. Like, we took a break. My group watching just went, okay, we're going to go get another drink and let's meet back in 5 because we need to process what just happened.
Yeah, that was craziness.
Yeah, I guess similarly because I flew through the books, so I wasn't spoiled, I was spoiled for everything up until season 5 or whatever. It was Hodor. It was the fact that had been not even a twist, but just something that they had planted there that I wasn't even looking for. I don't think anyone was looking for. We all took it for granted. Oh, he says his name all the time. But that this has been something that was built into the lore and actually had like this really tragic backstory and the consequences of Bran. It's the only time I've been interested in Bran. Of the closed loop that broke this poor kid's mind was like heartbreaking and just shocking that it had been there in plain sight the whole time.
It was so well done. Yeah, the moment Bran tells Jon about the ant banging, he can die. It's fine. We don't need him anymore. He's useless.
Maybe he's the Night King.
Maybe. Who knows? He could be.
One that you guys didn't mention, and those were all just shocking and amazing moments, but a moment that sent me into just like self-reflection for like a couple weeks was the Red Viper of Dorne's head. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that moment. And then you've each touched on it. I just want to real quick. You're in Vegas. You're at the betting window. Okay, what is in that chair? Who or what is in that chair? Come the credits roll. End of the season. Final season. Michelle.
I think it's a melted pile of slag. I think the dragons melt it down and there is no chair.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Agreed. No one. Therefore, the Faceless Men.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. It's Jack and Hagar.
I'll take Cersei, but it's just, the Seven Kingdoms become the Seven Kingdoms again. Like, she's ruling over basically nothing, but she's still sitting in it.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, we are going to find out. Well, there's only one way we're going to find out, by watching the Thrones. And these guys are the hosts of Watching Thrones, and they're going to be breaking it down every Monday at 11 a.m. What happened the night before? And you can catch it on Fandom Entertainment. What's Fandom Entertainment, you ask? Well, our sister channel, Screen Junkies News, has a cool new name. It's Fandom Entertainment, and you can see all the great content you love right there. And Watching Thrones is included with that. Roth, there's also going to be a lot of interactive stuff going on with Fandom, right?
Yeah. So you can go to Fandom, the Game of Thrones wiki, and then hit the discussion tab, and you can leave your own fan theory. You can comment on fan theories. You can make a poll. You can vote on our polls. We're going to be pulling from that each week and using that in the Watching Thrones show. That's not all we'll be doing. We'll be talking about the episode, but we're going to create a little Maester's Corner for Michelle from what people are searching on the wikis. We're going to talk about a weekly death pool and fan theories and things like that, but you can also go participate yourself on the site.
Is there going to be like a baking contest where someone can do their best hot pie and like make some bread?
Direwolf down.
Yeah. We're gonna make a pigeon pie right here.
Send your hot pies to Fandom Entertainment.
We're gonna
them
brown
live
that
on the
butter.
air.
Browning the butter before you bake the bread is our superpower. Yeah.
Nicely done. Yes, that's a secret. You guys, there is so much Game of Thrones knowledge right here. I am overwhelmed and I'm so excited. I hope it's an exciting season. I hope it doesn't rip our hearts out, but
it's absolutely going to rip our hearts out.
Probably. Thank you so much for taking the time to break down your thoughts, and thank you for checking this out. Don't forget to tune in every Monday, 11 a.m. Pacific, to see what happened the night before. Season 8, Game of Thrones, final season. Winter is here, and we're all here for it. Thanks for watching, you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.